Alright, hey, I'll be making a video covering Legendary Colosseum. I'll be showing you guys how we run it, for you guys hopefully to be able to run it yourselves, with your groups, with your guilds. So I'll jump straight into what we've been using, what we have been running with, and so on, and this can differ for all of you guys. Whatever you guys can make work, just go with it. For us personally, for our 5-man Colosseums, we've been running 1 Templar, 1 FM, 1 Mentalist, and 2 Archas. So for each class specifically, we'll start with the Templar. You'll need a full HP swap. This should be above 15.5 M. Nothing more is needed, but the more the better. The second swap should be a full A-dodge swap. This swap should be full damage. The more damage, the better. You only need 2 swaps as a Templar. Full HP, which is in full stamina of course, and a full 1v1 A-dodge swap, where you'll be STR and HP is not needed. So for FM, I'd consider this class the hardest class in Colosseum, at least in 5-man Colosseums, as this is the only class that is going to be resting during the Colosseum. So having the FM die during the Colosseum is gonna set back the group by a lot. So for the swaps, FM should have a full HP swap, which should be around 9M as long as you have the Celestial Bead that gives magic defense. More so, it should have a full YOLO 1v1 A-dodge swap, where HP does not matter. It should have a 3.7 M swap, which is needed, and I'll be covering why and when you should be using the specific swaps later on the video. And you'll also need one more swap, which is a full HP swap, but you're wearing a stick. This swap is used for the FM to rest people without having to be damage dropped with the stick out, being vulnerable to dying themselves. So every time you find yourself playing an FM wanting to rest someone, you should always press this swap before resting anyone. Alright, and so that's it for FM. I'll go through Arcanist and Mentalist together as their swaps are kind of similar. One thing to note is that one of these 3 mages are going to need to be tanking some of the bosses, so they'll need a full HP swap with around 15.5 MHP. Usually I suggest Menta having this swap, as Menta in my opinion can get more HP than an Arca. When it comes to the int HP swaps for both of these classes, you can either have a 9M HP swap if you want to have a deathless run, or if you don't mind dying at one of the stages, you can get away with a 7.1M HP swap, which means that you'll most likely die at an early stage, but it shouldn't matter as long as the FM has the HP needed to tank it. There's one more swap that we need to talk about. Earlier we said that there's going to be some bosses that the Mentalist was going to tank, meaning that in our case, our 2 Arcas are going to be needing some sort of an A-dodge swap. Now this swap isn't necessary, but it just makes the run so much smoother and would help you in the long run. So this is what we're running, and this is what I'll be showing you guys in this video. But if you guys don't have these classes or feel like other classes would do better, then feel more than free to do so. Swap the lineup however you guys want to do. If you guys want to run 2 Mentas, 1 Arca, then go for it. If you want to bring in a Seraph instead of an Arca, so that you have a Mentalist, a Seraph, and an Arca, then go for it. That way you can maybe replace an FM for something else, such as a Harley or any other A-dodge classes that you guys have. So we've talked about what classes we're bringing inside of Colosseum. Let's now talk about the elements of our weapon, elements of bosses, and elements of our suit and shields. Now this is super important because most of the damage you're going to be taking in Colosseum is going to be magic based, and we want to make sure that we're countering them as much as we can. So since we're taking magical damage, we want to make sure we're using the Celestial Bead with 10% magic defense. We want to make sure we have Rage Up 24/7, and we also want to make sure this is not needed but is a big bonus is if you use the Nascent sets. So with all these 3 together, you'll be taking a lot less damage, although the Nascent isn't too needed, but it is recommended. Alright, so let's talk elements. So the magical damage that we're getting has an element, so we need to make sure that we're countering it with our suit and shield. So I won't go through in specifics why we're using the elements that we're doing, but from stage 1 to 9, we're going to be using Earth on Suit and Shield, and once the stage 9 dies, we're going to be swapping to Wind on Suit and Shield, and once stage 10 dies, we're going to be swapping to Water on Suit and Shield. Now, you guys are probably going to have more than 1 suit and more than 1 shield, so to avoid any confusion, I recommend you guys changing the elements of your suit and shield for both your damage swap and your HP swap. And now last thing before we get into the Colosseum itself is the element for your weapon. I'll show you guys what you guys need for every stage, and these elements apply to all of the A-dodges, so FM in our case, and also all of the Arcanists. So the Arcanists need to have an element on their weapon for them to basically get a free damage boost. Now I do recommend you guys spending a couple of seconds before every stage to make sure you have the right element on your weapons, because you're going to make up the time you lost at the beginning with the huge damage boost that you'll get throughout the run. Okay, and the absolute last thing that we need to talk about is imps. Imps can single-handedly wipe a run if you guys don't take care of them properly. So let's take a look at what imps actually do and what we can do to prevent them from wiping our runs. So generally speaking, our main focus during a legendary Colosseum run is avoiding imps at all costs. They're gonna be spawning 2 times during a boss, most often. Once when you pull the boss, and once whenever the boss rages. If the boss is in rage for a long period of time, which it shouldn't be if everything's gone normal, then the boss might spawn a third set of imps, so just keep that in mind. And so sometime during the run, we're going to have to clear all the imps, so we need to know how to deal with them. So imps in general are only going to be doing 2 mechanics. The first one being a fire mechanic, and the second one being an electric mechanic. What you guys have to focus on is paying attention to whenever you see the fire or electric mechanic, and after about 4 to 5 seconds, swapping to your full HP swap. This also applies for whenever someone in the run takes an imp during the boss fight, so always keep an eye out on imps and look to see if they've done any mechanics, and if they've done so, you need to swap to HP after 45 seconds. After the 45 seconds, you'll be able to go back to the HP that you were on. Just to summarize the imps again, because it's the most important part of Colosseum, we want to avoid luring them during the run. If we mistakenly get one during the run, just reset it as quick as possible. If the imp manages to hit you and does one of the 2 mechanics that does damage to you, you'll need to go HP swap, wait the damage out, and then go back to the HP that you were on. Keep in mind that there's 3 mechanics that the imp can do. 2 of them do damage, the third one is only a root. So the Colo run is about to start. I'll give you guys some sort of a TLDR before every stage so that we get a good understanding of what's happening during the stage. So stage 1 is A-dodge only. We're having the Mentalist tank so that the Templar can swap to A-dodge swap. Other than dodging the visible mechanics, all you have to do is run away from the boss whenever you see the red blinking thing on you guys. Every time you see a new red blinking thingy, you guys need to move away from the boss. And that's basically stage 1. This stage doesn't spawn imps or anything, just hit the boss until it dies.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
Okay, so stage 1 is dead. Hardest part is just stepping away from the boss whenever you see the red mechanic. So for stage 2, you'll want to have the Templar in full stamina, grab like 3, 4, maybe 5 of the bombs, and just let Reflect kill them. Nothing much to say on this stage, just let the Templar do his work.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei.
So stage 3 is going to be the first time we see imps. Main thing here is that we dodge them. If we don't manage to dodge them, just remember what we said about the imps, about going HP swap and so on. Other than that, the Templar is going to be tanking in full stamina, full HP swap. The DPSs are going to be 3.7 HP. The boss is going to be spawning arrow rain on top of you guys. As soon as you get hit by an arrow rain, just step away from it so that you don't get hit twice. Also, since arrow rain is an AoE ability, make sure you guys are not stacking, otherwise you'll get hit for double the damage. Same as in stage 1, this boss is going to be spawning red blinking thingies on you guys. As soon as you see the red blinking thingy, just move away from the boss a little bit. And make sure you don't stand on the ult position of the boss. Once the boss rages, it's going to be doing double the damage. In this Colosseum run, we decided for all of the DPSs to go YOLO, other than the FM, which went full HP. If any of the DPSs died, we just had the FM rest any of the DPSs and keep hitting the boss.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Hab scharfe Zähne und davon ganz schön viel.
So on stage 4, before actually killing the bosses, we're gonna take our time and clear the imps one by one. Pay attention to the imps and what mechanics they're doing. In case it's the fire or electric one, you guys need to go HP. After killing all of the imps one by one, start by grabbing the towers one at a time. Usually what we do here is as soon as we see some sort of a mechanic on ourselves, we just go HP. Some of them don't do damage, some of them do damage, but just to be safe, just go HP as soon as you see anything. Also, since the mages are doing so much more damage than the FM, it is worth for the FM to stay full HP swap just in case any of the mages die.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 5, super simple. Imps at the beginning when you pull it, and imps at rage. The only thing you have to think about here is once you get the javelin thingy above your head, the Arca skill, you need to swap to full HP swap. Before rage, this does 4.3 or 5M depending on your magic defense, but after rage, this might do more than your 7.1M swap. This is why we have the 9M swap for those who have it. So if you have the 9M swap, go 9M swap. If you don't have it, you'll have to get stressed by the FM.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 6 is the same as stage 3. It's the arrowing stage. So again, we go 3.7 mHP. The Templar is going to be tanking in full stamina HP swap. The rest is hitting on 3.7. There's going to be imps at the beginning, but no imps at rage. And this is the only boss that doesn't spawn imps at rage. And just pit out so you don't get hit twice from the arrow rain. Also, a side note, this is for all of the bosses. Make sure you don't stand under the bosses, because some of the bosses do mechanics right under themselves, and there's no way of dodging it. So just don't stand under the bosses. Also, stage 6 is quite an easy stage, so if you want to clear some imps before going to the boss, go for it, but don't spend too much time on the imps. Whenever the boss rages, we did the same thing as in stage 3. We made everyone go YOLO other than the FM, and whoever died just got stressed by the FM.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 7 is A-dodge only, so we're going to be having the Manta go full stamina and tank the boss here again. The Templar can go A-dodge swap, so can the mages if they have any. Here again, imps at start, imps at rage, and there's also bombs, the bombs from stage 2. So what the Manta can do is actually take the boss and take a couple of bombs with him throughout the boss, that way they clear the boss and the bombs at the same time. Important here though is to keep one bomb alive. That way, whenever the boss dies, you guys can start clearing for imps to make some space for later stages. Other than the visible mechanics, there's gonna be a power stomp that is invisible, and what you need to make sure is you always pull back whenever the boss pulls you in. You always wanna stand max range, so whenever you get pulled in, always pull back. So once you've killed the boss and have one bomb left, start killing the imps and then go kill the bomb once you're done.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 8, this is a magic only stage. We're gonna have the Templar tank again with full HP, full stamina. We have the mages full damage on the boss. In our case we have an FM helping with the damage, but he's especially helping with killing the healing totems that spawn. Again, there's gonna be imps at the beginning and imps at rage. There's also going to be a pink mechanic that behaves just like a meteor but is invisible. It's just like the red mechanics from stage 1 and 3. And also, from now on, we aren't going to be killing imps other than maybe in between the stages. So it is super important that we start positioning the imps so that they spawn at the edge of the Colosseum. That way we have more space to work with on later stages.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 9 is kinda tricky. This is purely an RNG stage, so even 10-man Colosseum runs can fail only because of this stage. So first of all, we have the Templar tanking, we have the DPS max damage. In this stage, the pink mechanic from the last stage actually does damage now, so whenever you have it, you need to swap to full HP swap until you get hit, then get back to damage. And the tricky part about this boss is that Rage actually can one-shot the Templar. Only way Templar can survive is either if he blocks the hit or if he has Guardian up. If the Templar dies, you need to make sure you rest him quickly and start hitting the boss as soon as possible. Just keep repeating this process until the boss dies.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Hab scharfe Zähne und davon ganz schön viel. Ich schnapp mir, was ich schnappen kann. Ja, schnapp zu, weil ich das so gut kann. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
Okay, so stage 10. This is one of the harder bosses in Colosseum. You need to make sure that you're swapping to Wind on Suit and Shield. This is super important for one of the mechanics that he does. Again, we have the Templar tanking, the PS is max damage. We spawn the imps at the edge of Colosseum. And before Rage, he's going to be doing a Earth mechanic. But if you have a character that can wear a shield, such as an FM, a Templar, an Arcanist, or a Mentalist, and so on, you don't have to do anything. As long as you're Wind on Suit and Shield, it won't do any damage to you. After Rage, everyone, including the people who can wear shields, need to swap to full HP whenever they get Earth on themselves. Other than that, the boss is going to be spawning eggs that the Templar is going to grab, and after 15 seconds after the eggs have spawned, there's gonna be a blue mechanic that spawn on most of the people inside of Colosseum, so you need to be ready to go HP swap around 15 seconds after the eggs have spawned. One more thing is, the boss does a meteor, which you can only hear when he does it, so move the boss whenever you hear this sound. Comet.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Hab scharfe Zähne und davon ganz schön viel. Ich schnapp mir, was ich schnappen kann. Ja, schnapp zu, weil ich das so gut kann. Schnappi, 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 schnapp.
So stage 11, last stage of Colosseum, the Templar is going to be grabbing the boss, the DPSs are going to go full damage swap, and we place the imps at the edge of Colosseum, that way we have more space to work with. There's a few mechanics here that do damage. First of all, there's the grasp, the black looking mechanic, just go full HP if you have it. And there's also a fire mechanic that spawns under the boss that you need to look out for. if you guys see this mechanic, you guys need to go full HP as well. Other than that, there's gonna be the meteor from last stage. But in this case, you don't need to move because the boss is so big, so if you stand max range, you won't get hit by the meteor. There's an electric mechanic. If you see the electric mechanic, just don't do anything. This indicates that there's gonna be an electric shock under the boss. But again, you don't have to move the boss because if you stand max range, you won't get hit by it. I also suggest having the wrestler go full HP here since the damage isn't too needed for this stage, just in case any of the DPSs die.
Ich bin Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Komm aus Ägypten, das liegt direkt am Nil. Zuerst lag ich in einem Ei, dann schnappte ich mich frei. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, 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 schnapp. Schnappi, das kleine Krokodil. Hab scharfe Zähne und davon ganz schön viel.